everybody? What's going on? Another episode of Crabcakes and Baseball here. With me, as always, Cole Ledger. We are going to roll with reviewing MIAA playoffs, go into the MPSSAA playoffs as well, review the region winners in the MPSSAA playoffs. That's the public school playoffs across Maryland. We're going to look at the region winners. We are going to preview the state quarterfinals. We are going to also preview the MIAA playoffs that are coming up starting today and then throughout the weekend as well. So, a lot to go over. This is going to be a shorter pod. Get everybody, I know this is going to be during everybody's lunch break in the middle of the day. We're going to get this done pretty quickly and then head back out on the road and cover some more baseball. So, let's get rolling. Cole, good morning. How are you?
I'm here again. Just another day, honestly. I mean, that's about all I can say right now. It's just another day.
Just another day. Yeah, that's for sure. We've been rolling these past 2 days. Obviously, the rain has changed a lot of schedules. We've been crazy with our Twitter fingers or I guess they're X fingers now. Trying to make sure and try to figure out when these games are. We've been talking to coaches throughout the week. Maryland got dumped on with rain. It messed up a lot of fields. You know, we had the opportunity to use Blandair, obviously move a lot of games there. Joe Cannon as well for the private schools, and then a couple public school matchups as well. So a lot of stuff got moved around. Obviously, we were on the road. Everybody saw us on the road. We were bouncing from place to place. We saw a ton of region final matchups over the past 2 days. You have been on at Blandair for the past 2 days. I'm surprised you didn't pitch a tent and you just stayed there for the last 48 hours, which probably seemed like you already were there, kind of pitching a tent and living there over the past 2 days.
Yeah, it's just fun, I guess. Fun.
Yeah. Well, it was good baseball, right?
For sure.
Good baseball, and it's always fun, and crowning these region champs, like a lot of these matchups are always highly competitive. Yesterday we were at Blandair. You and I got there at 11 o'clock, and you were there from 11:15 until what time did you pull out of the parking lot?
10:05, something like that.
Yeah, so you were there for a good 11 hours. So good stuff. I mean, as always, and then I hopped over and I watched the Clear Spring Smithsburg game in the middle of you guys covering the Blandair matchup. So a lot of good stuff. We are going to get into all of it. We are going to preview the region champion winners, your region champions. Then we are going to preview the state quarterfinal matchups. Go in and have a little bit of a conversation about these matchups, look at some potential upsets that we look for, look at these brackets and really dive into them. But first, I want to get into MIAA, Cole. We are heading into the weekend. MIAA playoffs, the A conference. John Carroll swept Mount St. Joe. They defeated Mount St. Joe 3-2 and 5-2. So John Carroll is in the championship series. That begins on Saturday. Calvert Hall is also in the championship. Calvert Hall swept Archbishop Spalding, scores 7-1 and 3-1. So Cole, we have a John Carroll Calvert Hall matchup. Game 1 on Saturday at 11 a.m. at the one seed, at the top seed, John Carroll. That game is at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Game 2 is at Joe Cannon on Sunday. And then the if game is pushed to Monday at Joe Cannon, time to be determined. Cole, give me your thoughts, A conference, what we're looking at. Obviously, we've been on John Carroll and Calvert Hall all year long. Spalding obviously had the injury concerns. Mount St. Joe with the pitching. We knew that was potentially going to be a big series with John Carroll. Give me your thoughts on kind of what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has just come down to, I mean, I don't want to say this is the matchup that we all expected. But this is the matchup between obviously the 1 and the 2. I mean, you look at the way these two teams have played, especially in the second half of the season. I don't think it was a huge surprise to see these two able to take care of business. Maybe not, maybe may not have expected in a sweep fashion for both programs, but was able to get it done, and that's what they've done all spring. You know, both of them got ahead in game one. Jamie, you were there for game one at Calvert Hall, where they won 7-1, and I was there when John Carroll exploded a little bit late and took the lead in the sixth inning and beat MSJ. We were at game two of Spalding on Wednesday. Didn't make it to John Carroll due to the public school stuff going on for that game, but I mean, it's just the two best teams that we've had in the state so far, and that have been reflected in our Power 25. Basically, the entire second half of the season, they're going to be in the championship. I look at it as, I mean, it's going to come down to exactly what I said I felt like it came down to last time, is which pitching staff can be more consistent. You know, John Carroll was able to sweep MSJ without using Pierce Quinn. Was able to use Brooks Mueller, and then Kieran and Dermick throw a very nice game for John Carroll yesterday. To kind of get them through it. So I mean, what will the pitching matchups look like? Who will go toe to toe for each of these respective programs? I think that'll be something to really watch.
Yeah, for sure. And it's two of the most explosive offenses that we've seen across the state. Public school, private school, it doesn't matter. It's the two most explosive offenses with your top really two arms there at the top of the rotation. So depending on pitching matchups, look, this is what we wanted, right? We wanted the top two teams in this championship series. Not that we had favorites by any means. I didn't want to kind of word it like that, but these are your top two teams in MIAA conference. And you're looking at John Carroll, you're looking at Calvert Hall. There's going to be fireworks each game. These offenses are loaded. You look at a John Carroll offense that has been consistent all year long. Calvert Hall has kind of had a little bit of a roller coaster, but it's the top two offenses, and it's arguably the top two teams in the state, and we're going to see them lock horns starting tomorrow. That game is at 11 a.m. at John Carroll. Moving on, B conference, Cole, we have McDonough. McDonough is in the championship. They are awaiting the winner of the St. Paul's and Boys Latin game today. McDonough in the championship after wins over Gerstel, Severn, and St. Paul's. The St. Paul's Boys Latin game is today. And then that championship will be at Joe Cannon at 2:30. Like I said, McDonough awaits the winner of that St. Paul's Boys Latin game. McDonough will need to be double dipped in that championship series there. Any thoughts on the B conference? Obviously, we've been on McDonough all year. I've seen Boys Latin. I've seen St. Paul's a few times as well. A lot to like in that B conference. McDonough has kind of rolled through, and they await the winner in that championship series, and they need to get double dipped. Any thoughts on that B conference?
Yeah, I mean, this is a McDonough team that going into the year, talking to when I was out at a couple B conference games early in the year, everybody said, who was McDonough going to play in the B championship? So, I mean, this was, I don't want to say everybody knew this was going to happen, or it was, but I feel like to many in the preseason, this was expected. And obviously, you look at the top end of the pitching staff, you look at Leo Antwerpen, you look at Anderson Lambert, you look at Chase Ginsburg, who's been a big arm for them this spring. So, I mean, not a huge surprise. You know, Severn started the year really hot in the B conference, but then kind of cooled down towards the end of the year. You look at Boys Latin, we've really liked them on both sides, the offense, especially at the top of the order, and the pitching staff with Stockton and Bordick. You look at the St. Paul's team, can Eli Livingston and Angulo Bartlett, who's been a very big arm for them this spring. Can those two lead St. Paul's through the way in this game against Boys Latin? I think that'll be something to watch. Or can this Boys Latin really shut down this top part of the St. Paul's offense, where you kind of see a lot of the time these first 5 or 6 hitters are, you know, really leading this team and then kind of simmers down toward the back end. I think it'll be a really interesting matchup with whichever team gets McDonough. I think McDonough's pitching staff can definitely get it done, though, regardless of who they get in this B championship.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Always a ton of fun in that B conference, highly competitive across all those teams. Moving on to the C conference, the Park School in the championship after wins over St. Francis and Beth Tiflo. They await the winner of St. Francis and Beth Tiflo today. Same thing as the B conference. McDonough is in there awaiting the winner. The Park School is in the same boat. The Park School awaits the winner of that St. Francis Beth Tiflo game. They will need to be double dipped in that championship series as well. Championship will be at Joe Cannon at 12 o'clock on Sunday, with the Park School awaiting that winner. Kind of pick your brain here again, Cole. Any thoughts on that C conference? I know you saw a little bit of a C conference game yesterday. We see Park School awaiting the winner in that championship series in the C conference. Any thoughts on the C conference as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Park School has continued to kind of dominate. I don't want to say dominate the C conference, but Park seems to always be in this situation. It feels like every year they're in this championship series. And there's no different this year. And then you look at some of the teams that may have not been in this situation last year that have really put some impressive seasons down. I know of the three left, I've seen 2 games of St. Francis, including yesterday. Really like the offensive capability St. Francis has, especially at the top of the order. A lot of lefties in that lineup. And in a situation where you're going to face a lot of righties most of the time, that's going to play to St. Francis's advantage. And it did yesterday as they took down Key School 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, you look at the St. Francis team that the offense can get going. You know, I think they'll be able to beat Beth Tiflo, but I'm pretty sure Beth Tiflo beat them earlier in the season throughout MIAA conference play. So it'll be a really interesting matchup. But can anyone take down this Park School that has been pretty dominant over the last few years in the C conference? You look at Noah Tomasino, you look at Jack Rogers. Can those two get it done for the Park School once again? Both still really underclassmen for them. It's going to be really interesting to watch this Park School and see who they're going to match up with. Will it be Beth Tiflo or will it be St. Francis?
And this weekend, Cole, is always one of the more fun weekends for me. You have the MIAA on Sunday, and you go C conference, B conference, A conference championships back to back to back. You can kind of sit on Joe Cannon on a Sunday and watch really good baseball. And most of the time we crown the champions on that Sunday. It's a lot of fun to watch. We're obviously highly competitive baseball that we've been watching all spring long, and a ton of big time games on Sunday at Joe Cannon. So we will be there, Cole, in some capacity, whether it's myself, whether it's you, whether it's a couple interns, but we will be out in full force on Sunday, bearing down and watching those matchups. Let's move on, Cole. Get out of private school. Let's head to the MPSSAA playoffs. Get through this, have a little bit of a conversation through this. Obviously, we've been there and we've watched, a ton of these matchups throughout, whether it's, throughout the entirety of the regionals. Right now, I am going to crown our winners, just going to highlight them, go over 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, all of our classifications, all of our region winners. And then we're going to look at the state quarterfinal brackets, have a conversation in each classification, then we'll move on from there. In the 1A West Region 1, Allegheny defeated Northern Garrett 6-3. So they are your 1A West Region 1 champions. 1A West Region 2 champions. Smithsburg defeated Clear Spring 14-3. I was at that game. Smithsburg, explosive offense, to put it lightly. Very intriguing, very interesting team there with Smithsburg. 1A North Region 1, Patterson Mill defeated Hartford Tech 6-0. 1A North Region 2, Pikesville defeated Liberty 6-0. A strong Liberty team there out of Carroll County. Pikesville went into Liberty and shut them out. 1A South Region 1, ACCE defeated Frederick Douglass 8-4. 1A South Region 2, CMIT North defeated Central 14-1. 1A East Region 1, St. Michael's defeated North Dorchester 11-1. 1A East Region 2, Snow Hill defeated Mardella 4-3 in a gauntlet of a matchup, Cole, that got stopped because of darkness. What was the final innings total for that game?
Yeah, so they went back and played 2 more innings. They needed 2 more innings after the gauntlet of a game. Like I mean, and Jamie and I were talking. We didn't even realize that game was going on. Every other game in the state got completely banged, but Mardella just decided to sneak a game in right from under us. I was very close to Mardella. I could have gone to it. I had no idea what was going on. Yeah. But went 12 innings, finished at 14 innings, and another upset win for, I would say, Lampman, but he's not around anymore for
Uh-huh.
Lampman's
Yeah.
old team.
Yeah, so Snow Hill does win that marathon game over Mardella 4-3. 2A West Region 1, Middletown defeated Century 6-5. 2A West Region 2, Southern AA defeated Glenelg 4-3. Cole, we're going to get into Southern. This is a very scrappy team, a very scrappy program, a very interesting program that has beat some teams throughout the regionals, and that you go up against Bellotto with Glenelg and you defeat them 4-3, a big win for Southern. I think this is a team that's rolling, obviously, at the right time. We're going to get into Southern in a little bit, but big win, big region championship for them in the 2A West Region 2. 2A North Region 1, Eastern Tech defeated Sparrows Point 2-1. 2A North Region 2, Hereford defeated Newtown 5-1. 2A South Region 1, Lackey defeated Frederick Douglass 6-4. A different Frederick Douglass, that is. 2A South Region 2, Huntingtown defeated La Plata 3-1. Big time smack matchup there. That's a Huntingtown team, and we're going to get into them. That is rolling at the right time, and that's putting it lightly. This Huntingtown team is firing on all cylinders on both sides of the ball. Definitely interesting. Another team that we're going to get into in a second. 2A East Region 1, North Hartford defeated Rising Sun 3-2. 2A East Region 2, Parkside defeated Queen Anne 6-0. Cole, that's a big time Bayside matchup there. I know you may want to get into that game. Well, actually, I'll pick your brain a little bit here, but Parkside over Queen Anne 6-0. Pretty dominant win there. Any thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just came down to like I talked about at the very beginning. This was the matchup in the region final everybody expected. It was the same exact pitching matchup we saw 2 weeks ago. You saw Trudeau go up against Procopio, which is the exact same matchup we just saw between these two, and Parkside was able to take it then. I think they were able to figure out the sophomore a little bit quicker in Procopio than Queen Anne's was really able to figure out Trudeau. Trudeau has been a big arm for Parkside, probably their top arm, and that's crazy to say even with Chase Shepard there. But Trudeau has been amazing for them this season. Parkside was able to put it down. Trudeau, it again pitches another key shutout for them. So I wouldn't say it's a huge surprise, but definitely an impressive win for Parkside.
For sure, yeah. Moving on, 3A West Region 1, my boys from Oakdale. I got a lot of heat for this one last pod. We did. I said that they were about a year out. They are not a year out, and they proved me wrong. They proved everybody else wrong. Oakdale defeated Ligonor 7-0 in a dominant fashion. They ran away from that with that game late. Oakdale's rolling. Cole, we're going to get into them in a second as well. 3A West Region 2, Magruder defeated Wooten 12-6. Offensive explosion there. Matt Strahan, huge day in that region final matchup. 3A North Region 1, Delaney defeated Towson 8-1. 3A North Region 2, Poly defeated Baltimore City College 3-0. 3A South Region 1, Chesapeake defeated Northeast 6-4 at a game that I was at. 3A South Region 2, Sherwood defeated River Hill 7-1. 3A East Region 1, Arundel defeated Severna Park 7-2. Cole, that's another Arundel team, another team that kind of surprised some people throughout this region. Defeated Severna Park in pretty handedly 7-2 in that matchup. 3A East Region 2, another big time smack matchup in this region final. Chopticon defeated Northern 7-6. And then moving on to the 4A. 4A West Region 1, Urbana continues to roll. That has been the team throughout this region that is the team to beat. They're on the top of that mountain for a reason. They defeated Thomas Johnson 6-0. 4A West Region 2, your region of death, Walter Johnson defeated Walt Whitman 10-0. Obviously, throughout the week, I was getting texts from Coach Sutherland. We had tweets being thrown out where the hashtag I'm with Cole. You got that region correct. Cole, Walter Johnson defeated Walt Whitman handedly in that game last night. We were both there. I got there towards the tail end of it. But again, Walter Johnson over Whitman 10-0 in that one. 4A North Region 1, Kenwood defeated Parkville 6-1. 4A North Region 2, Montgomery over Wheaton 1-0. Cole, that was a walk-off in what inning was that?
I want to
Was it
say
the
eighth, but I don't.
I,
I don't want to say wrong. I know
I
I
know.
saw on Twitter that RM walked it off, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
As you go through these,
almost
I'll
positive.
get the answer for you.
Yeah, almost positive it was in the eighth inning, but a walk-off win there for Richard Montgomery over Wheaton, 1-0 in that one. 4A South Region 1, Reservoir defeated Montgomery Blair 6-3. 4A South Region 2, Roosevelt over Flowers 14-4. 4A East Region 1, North County over Crofton 2-1. Cole, that's a North County team that's rolling as well at the right time. They take that East Region 1 championship. And then 4A East Region 2, you got Broadneck over Leonardtown 2-1. Cole, I am done talking. I'm gonna move it over to you, but that is all of our region winners. Obviously, we were out in full force. We saw a lot of these region championships. Cole, I think we were able to see in person 10 out of the 32. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So in person for a ton of these matchups, obviously Blandair helped us out a lot with all of those matchups there yesterday. But a lot of good things, man. A lot of really good things to see. But let's move on. Let's go. We are going to start where we left off in the 4A. We're going to go to the 4A bracket here. Pull it up here. You're looking, this is a 4A that is highly, highly, highly competitive. It's been highly competitive all year long. This is a 4A that most of these state quarterfinal matchups are going to begin on Saturday. There is one matchup today, Broadneck and Kenwood today at 1 o'clock in a state quarterfinal matchup. You have Broadneck as your number 1 seed. You have Reservoir as your 2. You have Walter Johnson as your 3. You have Urbana at your 4. Cole, what do you see in this bracket here in your 4A? Anything that kind of stands out to you, and then we'll kind of move forward from there.
Yeah, and I'll say that RM did walk it off in the seventh inning, so it wasn't extra innings, but another
Thank you
walk
for
off.
fixing
And
that.
two things to mention. Obviously, shout out to Blandair for everything that they were able to do. Getting in all the Howard County games, and you look at CMC able to get a couple of those games in. Then you get the MoCo games in, and I would feel wrong if I didn't do this. If you want to play at Blandair, come to the Maryland State games on June 17th and 18th, because that's exactly where we'll be on those days.
Big time. Thank you.
Felt like I
That's good,
couldn't
Cole.
feel like I couldn't pass up that opportunity right there.
Okay.
But and then I just look at, and we can get into this as we go class by class, but you just see some of these schools finally get over the hump, get their first region title in school history. I think we saw, personally, of the 10 matchups, 3 or 4 of them got their first ever region title in school history. I mean, just in this bracket alone, RM got their first region title in school history. WJ, which is a very storied program, they were finally able to conquer that big region and take their first region title program. But the big matchup I look at here, honestly, I look at Reservoir and North County. Can North County get it done without their best offensive player, who unfortunately got injured here in the playoffs? Can Gavin Metrick, who will be on the mound tomorrow for Reservoir, can he shut things down and knock out this North County team and potentially get a major matchup in the semifinals between Reservoir and WJ? I think this has the potential to have the best semifinal matchups of any classification, assuming that all of the 1 seed or all of the higher seeds win. You look at a potential Broadneck Urbana matchup in the semifinals. You look at a WJ Reservoir matchup in the semifinals. But also, don't sleep on RM. I mean, although they already used Alex Von Barron in the region final game, they still have some arms that could really confuse Urbana and really give them some trouble. But that Urbana offense was really good yesterday when I was able to see them. But I think the first game I circle when I look here is Reservoir in North County.
For sure, and like you said, Cole, I think this is the one classification that may have the most intriguing semifinal matchups. And honestly, throughout all classifications, these semifinal matchups are going to be pretty loaded. But the 4A, like you said, if these top teams do get through, you have that Broadneck Urbana game. This Broadneck team is a team that just knows how to win. They're senior led. They have some young bucks as well that can produce in the middle of the lineup, but it's a very senior led team that knows how to win these 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 games that they're going to need to do if they get by Kenwood in a game that's most likely against Urbana. That game is going to have to be low scoring, and you look and you kind of favor Broadneck in a low scoring affair because they've done it all year long. Then you look on the other side of the bracket, you have WJ Roosevelt. If WJ gets by that one, a most likely matchup with Reservoir with the pitching staff there. Highly intriguing state semifinal in that one as well. Cole, this 4A is going to be a lot of fun to watch as we get through these state quarterfinals, get into the state semis as well. But a lot to like. Cole, do you have, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but if there was an upset for you to pick across the 4A, we're going to give some bulletin board material here. If you were to pick an upset, where do you kind of look at it throughout this bracket?
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing against the bottom four teams in this bracket, but I think it's going to be really difficult to take out these top four teams. If we're looking matchup in matchup, I feel like the first round you're going to see all the higher seeds win just because of how battle tested they've been throughout the spring. I mean, you look at these four teams, they're not always here in terms of like these teams are not always in the state title. I mean, you look at Reservoir, they were out for a couple years. WJ's finally in the state tournament. But I mean, you look at some of these teams, like Urbana seems to always be in this situation. Broadneck usually is in this situation with the exception of last year. I think if there's any potential upset I see, I don't know if it'll be in the first round. Assuming everything goes chalk in the first round, I look at a potential Urbana over Broadneck. Just because Broadneck, like you said, Broadneck knows how to get it done. They're never going to be that team that blows anybody out, especially in a high stakes matchup. But this Broadneck team obviously knows how to win. But I look at this Urbana team, and their offense 1 through 9 yesterday was lethal as they took down TJ. And I just think this Urbana team in this situation will probably be Zeroli on the mound again in the semifinals, as he won't throw tomorrow for Urbana. I look at Zeroli versus this Broadneck team. If Zeroli can pitch the way that Zeroli pitched yesterday in front of me, I don't think Urbana will have any issues, and I think Urbana can really put an upset to Broadneck.
Love it. Love it. Big time. Just for little bulletin board material, and I love being yelled at. I look at at an upset in the first round, Cole, and I got North County over Reservoir. I'm not saying it's necessarily a pick, but a thing to watch out for if I was to get an upset throughout this, especially these first rounds in the quarters. You look at a North County team that's rolling right now. Obviously, Reservoir is rolling as well. I love that Reservoir program. I really like what they've done throughout the spring. But don't sleep on that North County team. They're rolling right now. They beat some teams that we did not think that they would beat throughout the regions or throughout the region that bracket. So look at that first round matchup as a potential upset there. Moving on, Cole, I want to go to the 3A. Pull it up here. You have Sherwood there at the top as your 1 seed, Magruder as your 2, Chopticon as your 3, and then Baltimore Polytech at your 4. Those are your top 4 teams in this bracket, top 4 seeds. Cole, pick your brain a little bit here. Look at these first round matchups. What are you intrigued by? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, 3A, and I was kind of talking to you about this last night when everything was getting finalized. I think 3A has probably the best first round matchups of any classification, which is crazy to say because we're going to get into it here in a second. 3A was an absolute roller coaster throughout the spring, and I'll actually get into it right now. I saw something on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So I will shout out Moco Baseball Log for giving me this information. So I decided to look a little bit more deep into it. There were, I believe, 8 teams in Class 3A that won 14 games this spring. Of those 8 schools, only one of them currently sit in the state playoffs, and that's Sherwood. What a surprise that's going to be. That Sherwood would be the one team to do that. But you look at North Hagerstown, you look at Damascus, you look at Towson, you look at Northeast, you look at River Hill, you look at Stephen Decatur, you look at James M. Bennett. None of them made it. Not a single one, except Sherwood, obviously. None of those other schools were able to make this state tournament. Obviously, some had to play one another, but you just look at how crazy 3A has been this year. You look at 1 seeds. If I'm not mistaken, Sherwood and Baltimore Polytech, and Chopticon, so 3 of the 8 1 seeds were able to make it out. You look at a big upset that you picked in the regions, and you look at Delaney knocking out Towson really in dominant fashion. You look at Arundel, who may have had the most difficult ride to the state tournament we've seen in the last few years, and Arundel really played it well. They run-ruled South River. They then go down to the beach and beat Stephen Decatur, and then they play Severna Park, and they beat them as well. Now they got to play Sherwood. It has not been an easy ride for Arundel, but they will have Dominic Archiliani on the mound today, most likely for them. You look at this Arundel team, they can definitely give Sherwood a little scare. I think the coaching for Sherwood will probably get them through, but don't count out this Arundel team. The other thing I look at is Oakdale. I think that'll be the most intriguing first-round matchup for me is Magruder-Oakdale. You look at J.P. Schultz on the mound for Oakdale. You look at this Magruder offense who exploded yesterday. We love the top of the order. You look at Matt Strahan, who you had already mentioned, had himself a day yesterday. You look at Avery Green, Terrion Pettis, Jovi Silva, all these guys, and everybody at the bottom half of the order contributed yesterday too. Can J.P. Schultz do what he has done all spring and beat some top-end teams? You look at what he did to North Hagerstown on Saturday. Can he do it again to Magruder and knock out the defending state champions? That's going to be the question, in my opinion.
Yep, and like you said, kind of right at the start of this 3A classification, these state quarterfinal matchups are arguably the most competitive matchups throughout all of the classifications. You look at a Sherwood Arundel matchup, and you've already mentioned it. I look at that, I circle that game here as a big time game. You have Herculeani on the bump, most likely for Arundel. Can he match up with that Sherwood offense? Sherwood knows how to win. Obviously, they're battle tested. They have the coaching that allows them to understand the magnitude of these playoffs, and a Sherwood team that we love. We've been on them all spring long. Coach Davis does a phenomenal job with them. But you look at an Arundel team that is rolling at the right time. Again, you talked about the Magruder-Oakdale matchup. I really like that one. It's a Magruder offense that is loaded, that is firing just like they did last year heading into the playoffs. They're doing it again in 2025. An Oakdale team that listen, Coach Schmidt is doing a phenomenal job with that Oakdale program. He comes over, like I said, I mentioned it. I thought that they were a year out with their young bucks. They are getting it done this year, and they are proving me completely wrong. Big fans of that Oakdale team. They know how to win with some young bucks on the bump behind J.P. Schultz. They have that offense loaded there, especially at the top. This Oakdale team is a lot of fun to watch. Big time matchup there. Listen, Cole, the Chopticon Delaney matchup I think has plenty of intrigue as well. This Delaney team, I picked them to get out of the region, but it was a fairly big upset over Towson. I was at the Towson Delaney game earlier in the spring. Towson knows how to win baseball games. Delaney is firing at the right time now. Their young bucks are hitting. That lineup is lethal 1 through 9. That game against Chopticon, a Chopticon team that has been loaded throughout the spring, that has kind of rolled throughout the SMAC as well. A lot of fun in that matchup. But like you said, these 3A state quarterfinal matchups are a lot of fun, and you can see a lot of different teams come out of this, and it won't be as surprising as some of these other classifications. Moving on, Cole, I want to get into the 2A now. Let's hop in here now. You have Huntingtown as your number 1 seed, North Hartford at the number 2, Parkside number 3, Eastern Tech at 4. Cole, pick your brain again on this one. What do you see out of these, at least the state quarterfinal matchups, and then moving on from there?
Yeah, and one more thing for 3A. I mean, you talk about the Chopticon-Delaney matchup. The biggest thing for Delaney is Connor Dow can still go. They used him out of the pen for 1 inning yesterday. They started Drew Rank, who gave him a really good game. You look at Connor Dow still being available for a loaded Chopticon team that has a very powerful left-handed hitter in Logan Carver. Can Connor Dow be the guy to get it done and get them to the state semis? It'll be something to watch for sure. Looking at 2A, a lot of interesting matchups here. You see some 1 seeds come out of 2A. You see some lower seeds come out. You look at a team like Southern, who had to really fight to get out of their region. You look at Lackey, who was a 4 seed and got out. You look at Middletown, who wasn't their top seed and got out. Hereford wasn't a top seed. Eastern Tech wasn't a top seed. So you've seen a couple upsets here in 2A as well. Not as crazy as 3A, but just overall looking at this, the first matchup, and I think the most interesting matchup here in the first round, is going to be this Parkside and Middletown matchup. Parkside obviously got out of the Bayside region with Queen Anne's. Middletown, you've seen them a couple times this spring. Very young pitching staff, but they have the offensive capabilities to get stuff done, led by Corey Godlove. Can Chase Shepard, who likely goes for Parkside in this matchup, can he shut down this Middletown team? And this is a exact same matchup from last year. This is the exact same state quarterfinal matchup last year. I was at this matchup last year at Middletown, where Middletown took down Parkside. So can Parkside get a little bit of revenge here, as Middletown now has to drive 3 hours all the way to Salisbury to take on Parkside? I think that's going to be the first round matchup I really look at here.
Yeah, and another classification here that has plenty of intrigue in these first round matchups. I look at Huntingtown Southern. Cole Southern is a team that is maybe the scrappiest team, scrappiest program left in these playoffs. I love this Southern roster. I love the makeup of the roster on both sides. I like the brothers at the top of the lineup. You have some thump right there in the middle and towards the back end of the lineup as well. This is a matchup with Huntingtown. Now, Huntingtown, I don't know if there's a hotter team across the playoffs than Huntingtown is right now. They're going in and they're winning the games that they need to, obviously, to continue to roll throughout these playoffs. But Huntingtown is a team that I look at balanced on both sides of the ball. And now they match up with a Southern team that may be the hottest across all MPSSAA. The big time first round matchup there with Huntingtown Southern. I think a Hereford Eastern Tech matchup is very intriguing as well. Eastern Tech got out of the region. They now have to match up with a very, very strong Hereford team. Hereford's offense has been rolling all spring long. I love the makeup on that team as well, and the coaching staff knows how to get it done. North Hartford Lackey, another intriguing one. North Hartford has rolled through the region, had a couple really tough matchups throughout that loaded region that they were in. Lackey gets out. So a bunch of big time matchups here, Cole. Any upsets if you were to pick one out of here? If you had to pick an upset, where are you going throughout these first, just speaking the state quarters?
Yeah, I mean, I probably just go back to the matchup I already looked at it, and that's a 6 Middletown beating the number 3 Parkside. I think if there is if there is an upset here, I mean, technically, I feel like Hereford beating Eastern Tech. I feel like those teams are very evenly matched, so I wouldn't call either side a big win for either team, which is why I don't really pick that matchup. But I do think Parkside does have a little bit of an edge here over Middletown. The offense for Parkside has been up and down this spring, but I think Middletown, if they can go down and beat Parkside, I think they're in a really good position to get back to the state title, something that they did win last season as they look to defend their title.
And it's crazy looking at a Middletown team that lost so much talent on both sides of the ball from graduation, all of those departures from last year, and here they are back in the state quarters in 2025. A lot of fun to watch out of that Middletown team. Like I said, don't sleep on that 1-8 matchup with Southern Huntingtown. Love Coach Smith down there at Huntingtown, but that Southern team is definitely scrappy and a lot of fun to watch throughout the spring. Moving on, final classification here. We are going to pop into the 1A. Cole, you look at Allegheny as your 1 seed, Patterson Mill as your 2, St. Michael's at your 3, and then Snow Hill as your 4 seed. Again, throwing it over to you. What do you see out of this classification?
Yeah, I mean, I just look at some of the potential paths that some of these teams can take. I mean, you look at Allegheny. You know, they may have not been the number 1 seed in that region, but Allegheny gets it done again. This is a region that Allegheny seems to really put damage to every single year, and it was no different this year. They come back and they're the number 1 seed, so they don't have to travel very far for their first matchup. And then obviously you look at Patterson Mill. You look at teams, we've talked about it all the time. You look at teams that either lost or won the state championship last year, really trying to find ways to get back. And you look at this Patterson Mill team last year, they were the big underdog coming in. I mean, I think they finished 7-11 or 8-11 in the regular season, and then they just caught fire in the playoffs. This year, they were great in the regular season, really dominated the UCBAC all year long. So now they come into the Class 1A state quarterfinals seeded as number 2. Got to play that Pikesville team that was very good for them. You look at Michael Payne getting the ball for Pikesville after Isaac Goranzik carried Pikesville through that Liberty matchup. So I think overall, the first matchup, obviously, I look at is probably Patterson Mill and Pikesville.
Yeah, another loaded classification here, and a lot of intrigue with these first round matchups. A team I definitely want to circle, Cole. I was at the game yesterday. That Smithsburg team, I'll tell you what, it was the first time that I saw them this spring. We tried to get out to Smithsburg a couple different times. I was talking to the coaching staff when I was out there yesterday. Just didn't work out with rainouts and different things with the schedule. That Smithsburg team is loaded, and 1 through 9, and you saw the offense explosion yesterday. 10 plus hits, probably closer to 15. They ran away with that game against a very, very strong Clear Spring program. Really like that Smithsburg team. Snow Hill, obviously, huge region win there for them. Had to go through a gauntlet, a marathon game to get out of the region. They How do they kind of respond to that? They have a first round matchup with a really tough Smithsburg team. Smithsburg now, in my opinion, one of my favorites now in this classification. Just love the balance on both sides of the ball. They can get it done. Pitchers, they have 4 to 5 arms that are deep in that rotation, plus the offense that is probably one of the more explosive ones left in these state playoffs. So love that first round matchup. Really like that Smithsburg team. I don't know, Cole. Like the 1A, I think is kind of wide open when you're looking at it. I like an Allegheny team as well, another team that we look forward to seeing in these playoffs. Smithsburg right there, a St. Michael's team that is storied, obviously, over there on the Bay side. They're on the side of the bracket with Patterson Mill and Pikesville. A lot to see throughout this classification, a lot to kind of be answered throughout. So we'll see how it all works out. Any other thoughts that you had throughout this 1A?
No, not really. I mean, obviously you talked about St. Michael's. I think they kind of got the short end of the stick here. They avoid Smithsburg, but they get the defending runner up in Patterson Mills. So I think that'll be a really tough matchup for St. Michael's. If they can get by CMIT North later today, you look at that matchup as probably a big matchup in the semifinals.
All right, perfect. Love it. Cole, you got anything else throughout these playoffs? Here we go, pop. There we are. Anything else that you have throughout the playoffs? Obviously, we're going to be rolling throughout today. Cole, you're going to catch 1 or 2 matchups potentially today. I'm going to go out to a game tonight. Kind of foreshadowing there a little bit. Any more thoughts on the playoffs? Obviously, this is the most fun time for us throughout the year. Obviously, we have showcase and we have events throughout the summer and the fall. But these playoffs are the highlight of our year. Any more thoughts throughout the playoffs?
Yeah, and before we wrap things up, we've got 2 things we got to do. We got to bite our bullets from the regions and tell everybody how we did because it was not very good. And then I feel like this pod wouldn't be complete without giving state championship winners. So I know Jamie tries to avoid that so he doesn't get put on a bulletin board again, but
I do.
it's something that's got to be done. So unfortunately, we have to do it again. Looking back at the regions, not our greatest year, honestly. A lot worse than last year. You and the interns actually tied. So I don't know if that's a compliment for you, but you guys got 10 correct and 22 wrong. So not the greatest
It's a really good
performance from Jamie Naill. I did slightly better. I had 18 correct and 14 incorrect. So slightly better, but not very good still. As we said, upsets were upsets as you get through it. Jamie does clearly not watch Class 1A as he went 1 for 8 in Class 1A. Only had 1 correct winner in the entire classification. But you were the only one to have a positive record inside of 3A, which is wild considering all of the upsets we had there. My best region was Class 4A. I went 7 out of 8 on that one. The only one to not get through, I believe, was who was the crazy match or the crazy upset back in 4A? That was this is kind of Parkville. Parkville couldn't get through for me to make it a perfect 8 for 8. And then the interns, they were kind of just the exact same through every single region. So they weren't great in any region, but they did pick some big upsets. You look at Allegheny, they picked Middletown to beat Century. They looked at Chesapeake to get out of that tough region. I think your biggest win was the Delaney matchup against Towson. I think that was your big win throughout. Me personally, it's probably that Smithsburg team. Getting out of that region, or WJ, just because it's the region of death. And honestly, anybody winning that region is a big win. But I'm going to get your thoughts here. State championship picks. We'll start with Class 4A. Give your champion and who you think they'll play in the state championship. Winner over the runner-up. Who are you taking?
Love it. All right.
Well, we don't know who each other are taking because this is kind of on the fly. So neither of us know who each other are going. I've kind of put some thoughts together as we've been talking for the last 20, 25 minutes. So first look, who are you taking?
All right, well, I'll pop it back up here. You said we're starting 4A, Cole?
Yep, starting 4A. What are
All
you
right,
looking
let's
at here?
go 4A. Listen, thank God I get to go first here, Cole. So I don't get to go behind you. So now you get to pick the winner behind me. Um, I've bit this bullet all year long. I've gotten hounded on the back end here. I am going Walter Johnson to get out of the 4A. I am finally going with Coach Sutherland's team out of Walter Johnson. That is my pick to get out of the 4A. I think they match up with Urbana in the state championship. I think Urbana gets by Broadneck in that state semis matchup. Walter Johnson going to be a tough matchup, in my opinion, where I think they're going to face Reservoir, face a big arm in the state semis. Walter Johnson, arguably the most battle tested team across the spring, going through the MoCo gauntlet that it is throughout the spring. I got Walter Johnson getting out. I have Walter Johnson as my state champion winner out of the 4A. If there was any consolation, I would love to pick against WJ because I have all spring long, and I love my conversations with Coach Sutherland. But I am going to go WJ. They proved so much to me throughout the region. They proved so much to me even last night against Whitman. This WJ team with Nolan Ross and Spencer Gilchrist at the top with a couple arms behind them coming out of the bullpen. They're loaded pitching wise. They're loaded offensively as well. They know how to get it done. I'm going WJ.
Yeah, I don't know if Coach Sutherland actually wants you to pick WJ.
That's
Honestly, I'm not sure he even wants that, but you did it anyways. I took WJ in the state title in the very beginning of the year. I said that they would be in the state championship. Why would I go any different now with how they've played this spring? I don't know. So I'm going to go with WJ again. Continue my tandem of taking WJ. Obviously, you look at the potential Broadneck Urbana matchup. Just like you, I think Urbana matches up slightly better with Broadneck than Broadneck does with Urbana, but Broadneck really gets things done. And we talked about it. We said, is it going to be a thing where Broadneck just goes through the entire playoffs and wins every game by one? I mean, it's just how Broadneck plays. Broadneck knows how to win. You look at Noah Foreman, you look at Cooper Mengel, you look at all these guys. I think that's going to be a good matchup, but I do think this Urbana offense is just really good this spring, and they've continued to show it. Caden Lipscomb, obviously, at the top of the lineup. I'm going to go chalk with you here. Not really chalk, but go with an agreement here with you, WJ, over Urbana. But don't sleep on this Reservoir team if they're able to get by that tough North County team. And then if they're able to upset WJ, don't be surprised if Reservoir wins it all.
Yep, completely agree. Moving on to 3A, Cole. I'm gonna turn it over to you first, just because I like to have arguments. So let's go into 3A. Pick your state winner, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's here you could pick any of these 8 teams to match up with one another, and I don't think it would be a bad pick here. This is difficult. This is the only region that when we were going through, I was like, I'm not actually 100% sure on what I want to go with here. First look, and this is just what I'm going to roll with. Early look, I'm going to take Chesapeake to win it all. That's who I took in the preseason. I said Chesapeake would win it all this spring. They got through the region. Coach Young gave me a little bit of stuff for not taking them in the region after I took them to win it all in the preseason. They went through the region. I told him if they go through the region, I'll take them to win state. So I'm going to take Chesapeake here. Honestly, any of these 4 in the bottom half of the region can get through this. The first team that circles my eyes, I might look Oakdale here. If Oakdale can get by Magruder, I think they've got a really good shot. It all comes down to what JP Schultz can do against this Magruder team. I'm just going to go Chesapeake over Oakdale right now, but honestly, any of these 8 can win it all.
Big time. No, I love that, and I'm going to go completely different from you here. I like the Chesapeake pick, especially in a first round matchup that you think that they can get by Baltimore Poly fairly easily, and nothing is easy though throughout these playoffs. But you look at that first round matchup, the potential one that's most likely the most confident in our picks is Chesapeake over Baltimore Poly. I'm going to go Sherwood to take this Class 3A state title. Sherwood, this is a team coached by Coach Davis. He does a phenomenal job getting his guys ready. Sherwood is battle tested if they can get by that first round matchup against Arundel. That's the biggest thing for me. This Arundel team, like I said, they're scrappy. They have Dom Erculiani most likely on the bump tonight. I really like that first round matchup. One of the most intriguing ones for me across all classifications. If Sherwood can get by Arundel, then they most likely have a really tough matchup with that Chesapeake team, which is your pick. I have Sherwood matching up with Magruder in the state title game. I believe Magruder finds a way to score enough against Oakdale to get by that game. This is an Oakdale team. I don't want to put it lightly. I love this program. I love this team. A lot of fun to watch throughout the spring. But I have Magruder getting by them in the first round, and then I have Sherwood defeating Magruder in the championship. We'll see how it all plays out. Moving on to the 2A, Cole. So Cole took Chesapeake. I took Sherwood in the 3A. Moving on to the 2A, Cole, give me your state title winner fairly quickly. That way everybody can get back to teaching, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way I look at it. I took Huntingtown to win it all in the preseason. Why would I change anything? They come in as the number 1 seed. They won probably the most difficult region in Class 2A. Why would I change up now? I'm going to take Huntingtown to win it all. I had Queen Anne's originally as the runner-up, as the winner of the Bayside region. Well, I'm going to go basically similar here, and I'm going to take the winner of the Bayside region again. I think Parkside finds a way to get it done. I think Huntingtown defeats Parkside in the 2A state title game. I love this Huntingtown team. You look at the pitching staff, you look at the top end of the lineup. It's going to be a tough first round matchup for them with Southern, but if they can get by Southern, look for them to really make a deep run as they continue their red hot streak here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I love that pick, Cole. Usually I try to go against you just for argumentative purposes, and we have different picks, but I'm going to go Huntingtown in this classification as well. Like you said, a tough first round matchup against a scrappy Southern team. I like what Southern does on both sides of the ball, but Huntingtown, I think the balance and the firepower on both sides is going to be too much for Southern. I think Southern gets by a matchup most likely with Hereford. I think Hereford gets by Eastern Tech. Huntingtown Hereford in that state semis is a lot of fun to watch. I see a matchup with Huntingtown and North Hartford in the state championship in 2A. I think Huntingtown, like I said, the balance on both sides of the ball. I think Huntingtown gets it done. A lot of fun to watch throughout this 2A. You have who was your winner? Oh yeah, Huntingtown. So you have Huntingtown in the 2A. I also have Huntingtown in the 2A. Moving on, Cole. Finally go to the 1A. Give me your winner here across the 1A classification.
Yeah, everybody thought, with all the loaded teams in Class 1A, you look at Class 1A and you look at the one region really dominating the last few years. The last 3, if I'm not mistaken, the last 3 state title winners have all come from that same region. You look at Clear Spring winning it all in 2022 and 2023, and then you look at Brunswick winning it all in 2024. I'm not going to change that up. I'm going to take Smithsburg to win it all in Class 1A. I took them to win the region. I knew this Smithsburg team could get through this region. And honestly, if they get through this region and they can get by this scrappy Snow Hill team, I think they can continue to get on this roll behind that offense. Who they're going to play, and this might surprise some people, I don't think Patterson Mill gets there this year, which is tough to say. I'm going to take the Young Bucks on the Eastern Shore. I'm going to take St. Michael's. I think Smithsburg takes down St. Michael's. I love the way Coach Femi runs his team. He continues to get it done. If they get by CMIT North today, you most likely get a Will Sherwood versus Patterson Mill matchup. And Will Sherwood has shown that he can beat anybody on any given day. If Will Sherwood is on it like he usually is and has been all spring, I think St. Michael's can get into this 1A final. I'm going to take Smithsburg over St. Michael's.
I love it. Love that pick as well. I am going to go Smithsburg in the championship against Patterson Mill. I have Patterson Mill going. I love the St. Michael's team. I completely agree with you. Coach Femi does a phenomenal job with St. Michael's. I definitely like that St. Michael's team, but I have Patterson Mill going deep here. I have Patterson Mill winning the 1A state championship, Cole. Obviously, I've talked about Smithsburg. I was there for that Smithsburg matchup last night. Love that Smithsburg team. I have Patterson Mill getting hot at the right time, rolling through the 1A classification. I have Patterson Mill winning the state championship. So you have Smithsburg, or you have St. Michael's, Cole. What was your pick? I'm sorry. So you have Smithsburg taking the 1A state title. I have Patterson Mill taking the 1A state title, and that is how we are going to go with our picks. Cole, anything else throughout these state playoffs? Phenomenal coverage, obviously, from you, as it always is. Anything else, final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, we won't be right. I mean, I'll just say that now for both of us. Like, clearly, if you look at how we picked for the regions, with Jamie and the interns going 10 for 32 and me 18 for 32, clearly we're not good at our job. Clearly, we don't watch enough baseball. So clearly, we need to get out to more. But we won't be right. So don't take this with a grain of salt or whatever they call that. Don't take this too lightly. I know Reservoir will probably put us in their dugout, and I think for every playoff game this year, they've had a different saying in their dugout. We'll probably be next, as we were in the preseason, or as I was in the preseason. So it's always going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the first round matchups today, especially the state semi matchups, as they'll all be at those neutral sites, those 4 neutral sites that we'll discuss on Monday's pod before those Tuesday matchups. So we'll come back Monday. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss the Delaware State playoffs that'll be kicking off here soon. It's going to be a lot of fun over the next few days and honestly over the next week.
Yep, phenomenal. A lot of fun to be had, a lot of big-time matchups to see. Don't forget, we have a bunch of events coming up this summer. Maryland Summer Kickoff, our first big event of the summer, is next weekend, May 24th at Calvert Hall. Loaded roster already. Cole, it's going to be smaller in terms of numbers, but the talent that's going to be at that event is going to be a lot of fun. That is the first future game qualifier of the summer. We have our Maryland State games. We have top prospect games. We have Delaware top prospect games. We have the junior state games. A ton of events. Make sure you head onto the website and check out the event tab to find a showcase close to you that works the best for you. Can't wait to see everybody this summer. Can't wait to cover the rest of these playoffs. MIAA this weekend, we will be there as well. MPSSAA, the state quarters, today and tomorrow. A lot of fun to see. A lot of big time matchups, Cole. Can't wait to get out there. Any final thoughts after I kind of end it?
No, I think that's about it. I think we're ready to roll. Let everybody get back to school or whatever they're up to today. Get off their lunch break. They usually don't get an hour of a lunch break anyway, so we should probably wrap this up at least before an hour ends.
For sure. So thank you guys for jumping on. Thanks for hopping on, listening to us kind of go over these playoffs. All these matchups are highly intriguing. Can't wait to get out there. For Cole Ledger, I am Jamie Naill. It's Crabcakes Baseball, because that's what Prep Baseball Maryland does. We'll see you guys out at the field either today, tomorrow, Sunday, and all of next week. We'll see you guys next time.